Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets Show. I'm your host, Muhammad Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets. On this special episode, we are going to speak with Edward Gorbis. Edward is the host of Career Meets World podcast. Something very unique about Edward, about our guest, is he is helping immigrants to adapt this new culture of finding a job. As being immigrant myself, I know the set of challenges I faced many years ago are different than someone who is local is facing. So I'm so glad that our guest is actually helping. He felt the need for this specific specializing to immigrants. So please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Edward Gorbis. Edward, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, Edward, first of all, I salute you to helping immigrants, especially the legal ones, helping to launch their career, because their set, as I said, their set of challenges are different than typically someone else faces it. So let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to get started with Career Meets World?
Yeah, it's a great question. Obviously, it's always interesting when people start businesses and learn about what is behind their why, what's the inspiration. And for me, even though I might not have an accent, as you can tell, I was born in Ukraine and I immigrated when I was very young. I was about 5 years old. I credit everything to my parents, but as many people who fall into that demographic might relate to the fact that as an immigrant, you grow up in a very different environment and you kind of have to assimilate to American culture. And it's a very rude awakening in many different ways, right? We're kind of, as immigrants, and you can empathize with this, you're taught the work ethic, the discipline, but you don't necessarily know how to be successful in American business, right? Whether you're going into the corporate setting, whether you're trying to start a business. And I kind of had to learn a lot of that on my own. I spent 10 years in corporate, all the way from engineering roles to sales leadership roles, most recently at WeWork. All of that afforded me a learning process and a structure to understand how to really overcome a lot of these things. And last year, I had this realization before the pandemic that I needed to coach and I needed to help people. And I just quit my job in the middle of the pandemic. I was very fortunate to do that I established the wealth to have the launch pad to do that. But with that being said, I realized I want to empower other immigrants because it's something that's deeply meaningful to me. And I do that through a variety of different ways, through coaching, through different programs, through books that I've written. But that's really all I'm about. And that's what drives me.
Oh, wonderful. That is amazing. So that leads to my next question is, what are the top 3 mistakes the immigrant do to launch their career in US?
Yeah, it's another good question that could take a while to unpack. But if we're going to boil it down to 3 specific things, again, I said everything comes down to mindset. Yeah. Immigrants have this empowering mindset that's rooted on the fact that you always have to work hard, right? But the beauty in America is once you establish yourself, you're no longer in survival mode. So you got to figure out, how do you enter this thriving mode? How do you blossom? How do you bring joy, more happiness, more wealth into your life? And there's ways to do that, and there's ways to learn. So focus on figuring out how to thrive, not just survive. I think the second part is, in America especially, everything's predicated on relationships, right? The more people you know, the more people you're going to know beyond that. And the more people are likely to support you, help you, introduce you to new opportunities, whether it's in your career or business. So that's really important, is that relationships are key. And I'd say the third one that took me a really long time to develop. And yes, I might appear confident here talking to you, and it really doesn't matter how many people you're talking to. Communication is imperative to your success, right? Learning how to both communicate verbally and in written format is really critical. And oftentimes those are the subtle things that aren't valued by somebody coming into America, because again, they're just trying to survive. So focus on understanding that you have a ton of opportunity. You can build these incredible relationships. And the third piece is learn how to effectively communicate to share your gift with the world.
That is amazing. So, Edward, if I ask you personally, from your experience, what are your own top three success secrets?
My three success secrets shouldn't be a surprise to most people. They're a little bit of a reflection of what I just said, but a big part for me is understanding how my brain works. I've been fascinated to really learn how people's brains work, how I look at life. And over the last 10 years, I spent a lot of time reading psychology books, neuroscience books, spirituality books, metaphysics. And I kind of learn and distill different parts of it. So my success secret is that I literally learn how to rewire my brain. And that's a big part of what I teach people and help them create an empowering belief system. So for me, it's being this knowledgeable person around mindset, and I was able to recreate how I think. I think the second part is, for me, again, everything's rooted in how you present yourself, right? So I spend a lot of time thinking about how do I effectively communicate who I am, right? Like, what is my personal brand? What do I stand for? What do I care about? What are my values? And how do I effectively show people that, right? This is part of the process, but it takes a really long time. And it's more about going within. Again, it's centered around understanding yourself. So that's number two. And the third one is I always believe that everyone should have a leadership narrative. I don't care if you're a leader yet, you're a leader in some element of your life. You could be a parent, right? You could be a leader in the workplace. You could be a business leader. There's always a place for leadership. And for me, leadership is predicated on the fact that relationships are the most important thing in life. I always say that the product of relationships is leadership, right? So I spend a lot of my time connecting with people. And that's why I am so grateful to be here today in hopes of connecting with new people. And that's what my life's been about, right? It's about mindset. It's about communication. It's about networking. It's about really enhancing all of those skills. And that's what I focus the majority of my time on.
Great. I'd like to ask a follow-up question on rewire your brain. Basically, we are talking about this one. Is that right?
That's
So,
correct.
so is it really possible from an immigrant point of view? I'm just saying they think, oh no, my schools were different and I raised a different environment altogether. Now I'm already, let's say, 40 or 30 or age. Uh, whatever the habits I have developed, the way of communicating, we are interacting with people, we are building a relationship is already done. It's not easy. Now he can try. I don't think so. I can change. So rewiring a brain, it's all everything is here until you realize that it's not possible. Is it really possible, or that takes a long, in a quick time? So that way, because when the immigrant comes, they don't have much time to adjust because they don't have a money issues and financial issues and all those stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
very expensive to live here. So is it really
It,
possible to rewire your brain in, let's say, 3 to 6 months thing?
3 to 6 months, absolutely. That being said, what I will always caveat this with is that it requires work. You have to want to change, right? I think what I will tell people, again, I don't practice Western therapeutic medicine. I will caveat with that. But that being said, it kind of toes along the same lines where it's really important to understand that if you want any sort of change in your life, you have to put in the work. And I empathize with the fact that, as you mentioned, a lot of immigrants come here and they might not necessarily have the finances, the means, the wealth to start going through this process to invest any part of their day into it. I get that. Get the survival part done first, right? Figure out your income streams. And then if you genuinely want to change your life and if you genuinely want to rewire your brain, all of this is possible. And the reason is to very simplify this, is the fact that our brains are plastic, and this has been proven by neuroscience over and over and over again, is the fact that our minds actually don't know the difference between what we're thinking and reality. And I'll share an example with you. This is proven by the Harvard Medical School. They did a study on pianists, and I'll condense the story very quickly. But basically, they did a study on pianists, and what they looked is while these pianists were playing the piano, they wired their brain with different connections, and they basically created a heat map of what their brain looks like. And they looked at essentially what was happening in their mind. What they did in the part two of the study is they removed the piano. They had the pianist basically close their eyes, visualize what's happening as if they were playing the piano. And again, they took a heat map of their brain and what happened. And what they discovered is they're exactly the same. Your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what's actually happening inside of your brain. And again, this process takes a long time. There's a lot of things that we don't know, meaning you're not aware of what you're not aware of.
Yeah.
So my job is to surface the unconscious, help you understand how our brains work, right? This actually isn't that complicated. The problem is most people have never been taught this. Most people have never learned how your brain actually operates. You wake up, you're born, your parents teach you a set of beliefs, you go through some struggles, you experience some things in life, and that is what your brain keeps telling you. That becomes the search engine from which your brain starts looking at life through this lens. So, is it possible? Absolutely. Is it easy? It takes a little bit of work. It takes the will to want to do this, but I assure you it's possible. And if you give yourself 3 to 6 months, you're going to learn exactly how to do this. It's about committing to the process.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So, anyone who really want to change it for the rest of their life in a positive direction, into a certain direction, whatever the direction they want to go, they should be able to invest into themselves 3 to 6 months time. It's like they have to do the work. That's the key part. How the growth hacking secrets community can support you.
Yeah, great question. So I always say it's more about how can I support you, right? I started my business a year ago. I've been very fortunate to start working with clients one-on-one, doing speaking engagements at different companies and organizations. So if what I'm saying resonates with you, either you know of organizations that could benefit from me coming in and giving them a talk about how to build an empowering mindset, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm always available there to chat. Same thing, if you want to go deeper on this and you want to have a much more fruitful conversation, again, reach out to me, and I would genuinely appreciate any support from there.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a better career for yourself to the next level, the website is on your screen right now, the careermeetsworld.com. If you're just listening and you may not understand my accent, let me spell it for you so that you can actually make sure you get it. careermeetsworld.com. Careermeetsworld.com. Specialty is, especially if you are immigrant like myself and you need like a serious push, you have the inner desire to go to the next level, and you really wanted somebody hand holding who can move you from A to B and watch over your shoulders how you're making a progress. That's why you need to go to careermeetsworld.com. Edward, I promise that it will be quick and short and to the point. And I always like to ask this question to my guests about the show, a kind of review for the show. What would you say to your best friend about a growth hacking secrets show when I'm not there?
I appreciate the question. I would just say that I love any community that's supportive, that embraces people and really gives people a platform to speak. So I appreciate everything that you do and the time you take to build and foster this incredible group of people.
Yeah. Thank you for your kind word. Really appreciate it very much. What would you say as a final word?
I think last year was very difficult for a lot of people, and I certainly can empathize with that. With that being said, your past doesn't have to dictate your future. So if you really want to have an incredible 2021, 22, an incredible decade, understand that you have the power inside of yourself to really change everything. Start today.
Wonderful. Your past does not have to dictate your future. That's a wonderful, wonderful reminder for all of us. Thank you so much, Edward, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of a Growth Hacking Secret Show community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. All good wishes.